We're live. Hello and welcome again to another edition of BlogChat. I'm Matt, and this is.
Lance from National Parks at Night.
I said
Yes.
nothing. He said it. It was great. All right. So here we are. It's Tuesday night.
We're going to talk about a blog.
Yeah, we wrote some things. And there's stuff in the things, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Wow. I think there's at least 7 people. There's at least 7 people that are here with us. And thank you, each and every one of you, even if I'm one of them. So there's at least 6 people with us tonight.
At least 5 people with us tonight?
No, I'm talking about, oh, I see Sue. Sue's there on the chat. Hello, Sue. Welcome. Welcome to Tuesday. We love Tuesdays. Tonight is one of my favorite topics. It's the topic I love to hate to love. You know what that is?
How many blog posts have you written on intervalometers, Matt? Is this the third or just the second?
Let's rewind. Why do I write blog posts about intervalometers?
And make videos about them?
Ask me that.
Tell me, why are you so obsessed with intervalometers?
Because we need them and they suck. Damn it. I said I was going to restrain myself. We're here to stay positive. We're here to talk about what's positive.
Okay, most of them suck.
Many
of the ones that we've encountered.
Semantics, right? So yeah, we go out, and people who don't know what an intervalometer is, it's a word that you have to train yourself to say in a thing that you have to train yourself to use. It's this thing that plugs into your camera, and you have to use it to make pictures that are longer than the numbers that are on your camera, your shutter speeds. It controls shutter speeds.
It controls a few more things than that, right?
Well, yeah, that's the name, the intervalometer. It controls the intervals in between the pictures too. So hold it open for this long, this many times with this much time in between. That's its job.
And do it again and again and again.
And again and again. And it's like lifting. It's like, how many reps? It gives your camera a workout.
So for the scientist in the audience tonight,
yes.
We have a prize for whoever can tell us the difference between an interferometer and an intervalometer, right?
Do we have a prize?
A free broken intervalometer?
So, okay, in the comments, I want to know what the answer is to this, and Lance won't tell me unless you guys leave comments. So please tell us, what do you believe the difference is between an interferometer and intervalometer? And don't use Google.
That's right.
Moving on.
And if you can't remember how to say intervalometer or what the word is, it's intervalometer.
Yes. It's almost Irish.
Ometer.
Intervalometer. Fine, Bigora.
Give me ometer.
Fine, Bigora. I've got to make star trails. Oh my gosh. I have not been drinking. I've used no substances. But these things, nice. And tea. I have bubbly water, but it's cooling right now. So, I made my once every 3 week shopping trip. So this is an object. It doesn't matter what name is on it. This is an object that we need to make star trails, time lapses, or single exposures that are longer than what your camera can do. Because you can't sit there and press the button because your hand shakes and it's going to jiggle the camera. There is a setting on some cameras called T for time, where you can tap it to open it and tap it to close it. But even those have electronic limits. Do you know what it is on your camera, Lance?
On the D750, it is 1,694 seconds, which is 29 minutes and something.
Is that 12 times 12 times 12 or something?
I don't know. It just shuts off after 1,694 seconds.
Gross. I don't know. Somebody's got to tell us why that number is important. It's supposed to be like a byte order or something.
Yeah, I don't know. However, though, if you have a D850 or a D780, you have all the interferometer you need right there in the camera.
Now you're confabulating me.
Not quite, because only a small percentage of the population have those particular 2 cameras.
Right. But you said interferometer.
I'm getting them mixed up, obviously.
You
Hmm.
meant to say intervalometer, right?
I did. Intervalometer.
Intervalometer, and it's software instead of hardware. It sets your intervals and the duration and all that stuff in between. Yeah.
So let me just say though that many, if not most, contemporary cameras have built-in intervalometers, but they have many limitations. One, they don't break the way the external ones do, but they're bloody difficult to set up and use. And they only work in conjunction with the built-in shutter speeds on your camera. So if your camera only goes down to 30 seconds, your built-in intervalometer will only go down to 30 seconds. So if you want to do multiple shots longer than 30 seconds, you are out of luck.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and sometimes you have to really I mean, with any new tool or any software you've never seen before, you have to learn how it works. You have to put yourself into the logic mind space of the person who wrote the software, and like, how do I figure out what does what? And you have to do that with an intervalometer too. I personally find that it's harder with the software that's in cameras generally, not all of them. There are some camera companies that are starting to get it right. Nikon is not one of them yet, in my opinion. I love them. I heart you, Nikon, right? I love you guys, but
Canon isn't either.
Right. But I believe companies like Fuji have really nailed it. They make it look like the software that's on an intervalometer, which makes sense. So to me, because I've learned it. But to the people I've taught intervalometers to, the first time you look at one, you look at it and you're like, can you show me how to use this? Because it's different than the camera settings. Yeah. So one of my pet peeves is, and this is just, it breaks my heart. One of my pet peeves is that these things break. They're one of these items where you have to buy 2 or 3 if you want to guarantee that you're going to be able to do the things that have to be done outside of the camera when you're going someplace that's far away, let's say like Death Valley. There's at least every single workshop, there's at least 1, if not 2, if not 4 people who are like, my camera stopped working. No, it was the intervalometer. And the intervalometer.
Right. So what do? We carry with us a pack of a half a dozen intervalometers with interchangeable connectors for every different camera you can come up with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We personally invested as a company in buying extra things to make sure that our workshop attendees could have a good time. And they travel thousands of miles to get there. And this one thing that's absolutely necessary breaks. Oh, it kills me, man. I feel for each and every one of you when it happens. So, I mean, I know that you and I have both reached into our bag and said, here, take mine.
Yeah, I just got mine back in the mail from somebody who borrowed it for the Death Valley workshop.
Perfect. I didn't even plan this. No kidding. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Mary borrowed it, and it came back, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Not that I missed it, but.
Well, it's setting all of this aside. Like, I don't want to pick on any company in particular, and I have to make that clear. If I've been trashing the things that I'm annoyed at, it's because people get unhappy, and I've been kind of vocal with manufacturers over the years about what I believe is the ideal intervalometer. When we as a group, we've sat down and we've said, these are the qualities of the perfect tool. We're ready to make it. And we've even shared that with some interested parties. And
some parties that weren't all that interested, right?
Disinterested parties. I should have said that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have to qualify that. Again, I'm not picking on them. I understand the business sense behind it. Like, it costs $20,000 to make a mold, for instance, right? Like, so that's something you got to make up the money for. And, it's like, it's risk versus reward and all that. So I'm not faulting any companies who have decided not to do this. But what we are saying is that night photography is kind of big. People do enjoy doing it, and they do buy accessories. And we think that there's an underserved audience here, or they're lamenting this. They're crying for it. So,
hey, let me just comment briefly on my own particular quirk about intervalometers, and because you mentioned it costs 20 grand to make a mold. Well, isn't it kind of funny that there seem to be only, well, maybe like 3 or 4 molds in existence, and there are 27,000 different companies that make a different branded intervalometer with the exact same hardware.
Am I allowed to say no comment right now? I know a lot about that. It has to do with factories and the way modern things are made. There are people that do what's called white labeling, where like this a company says, I make this thing. If you order it from me, I'll put your name on it. And that's why they all look the same.
Right.
Because it might be one or two factories doing
But the ones that say camera brand are $150. And the ones that have a poor translation from some other language into a sort of American word, they cost like $12 to $20 to $30, but it's the same hardware.
Yes and no, and I can't guarantee that. I have not opened it up. I'm not an electrical engineer.
Okay, well, it's the same shell.
It might be the same shell, and they might be aping. They might be mimicking the same thing, and even the software and burning in the LCD. They might buy some of the parts from some of the same places, but they don't have the same quality assurance, and they did not invent it. Now, there's something behind saying, I'm going to make this product for the best possible enjoyment of my customers. And that's where I think the over $100 triggers come from. The OEM manufacturers, Nikon, Canon, they charge a premium because they need to guarantee that when their pros go in the field, it's not going to break. And that's where the value comes in. It shouldn't break, right? And when you pay less for something, I didn't think we we're going to get into this conversation, but when you pay less for something, it might be that the person who makes the solder where this happens, like right inside here, whoever solders that might not be spending as much time, or might be told to use a little bit less solder because it needs to hit a certain price point. And we don't know these things. We can only wonder about them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, I will say that, you know, in my experience with seeing other people and their broken intervalometers, it's generally not the one that says Canon or Nikon and costs $150. It's the one that says Aputure.
Oh, well, there's a whole bunch of brands that have extremely funny names, and I really enjoy pronouncing them. Like Nur.
Right.
Many extra vowels.
It's almost like Welsh. Yeah.
We have a couple.
They're not made in Wales, right?
No, most of them are made in China, or Shenzhen. So that's just where the manufacturing happens. We have some interesting comments that Gabe sprouted through for us. Randy Christ asked, can Lance spell the other one? It sounds like Randy wants to Google it. The interferometer or interferometer. You want to spell that for us?
I believe it is INTERFEROMETER.
I'm going to guess. No, I can't. I shouldn't. I mean, I like etymology, but moving on. Ed Finn said that in one early NPAN workshop he attended, he thinks Death Valley 2016, they were referred to as velocipaptors. Oh my gosh. I mean, we have...
That was the creature that was running across the valley floor in the middle of the night.
And this is a great story. Marina says, hi there. I actually have the same intervalometer that I bought at Calumet when I took my class with Lance. Still working. You're one of the lucky ones.
And what did I tell you about my Vello intervalometer a couple of days ago?
That you have it.
And then it never broke.
It never broke.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not quite as old as Marina's, but
there's
5 or 6 years and still kicking along.
I've been around these enough to know that this is probably the biggest problem. You see the bends in this? When you put this away, how do you wrap it up? Do you just do this and throw it in the bag? Some people might wrap it up like this That is it right there. And if you don't have a space that's a little bit taller than this when you put it away, you're causing stress. And this stress reliever can't handle all of that. You're going to break it.
Especially
go ahead.
Freezing cold temperatures.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that's exactly where it breaks.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. So again, not bashing anybody in particular. I'm just saying that this thing that we absolutely need, nobody's perfected it yet. Not one company. And I'm kvetching about this. I don't want an app. I want to put my phone away when I'm shooting. I don't want to blast my night vision, even if you turn it to red screen or all that other stuff. I just want to enjoy what's in front of me and let my night vision adjust and use tools that are dedicated to that craft. So, yeah. So I've been on a search for a long time between asking people if they're willing to make the right thing or talking with you guys about the ideal one, and I always have my eyes out. When somebody brings a new intervalometer class, and they want help learning it, I'll be like, oh, great. Let me see if this one's the one that I've been looking for. And I hadn't met it yet until I met the object of this week's blog post. And I'm not claiming this is the best ever. I'm claiming it's the next best thing. And it came from a surprising place, Phottix, who is known for lighting, right? So these guys made what's called the Aion. And the Aion is a 2-piece wireless system. I have the other one on my camera here. So you've got the receiver on top of the camera and the transmitter here. I normally don't like wireless intervalometers. I didn't like them for a lot of reasons, generally because the software on it has too many options. They're made for daytime photographers and not just nighttime photographers. And I'm selfish. I want it to be for me.
Don't we all?
Right? So why aren't we a class of our own? Night photographers deserve recognition too. Well, that being said, Lance, let's try something fun. Turn off your video and I'll turn off mine, and we'll show everybody exactly what this is about. We can leave our audio on, but this is the Phottix Aion in close. Right? And I just want to point out some stuff. I have the same mechanical pencil that I use for the video that's in the blog post. This is the most important part right here. And I'll put the Vello next to it to show you. There we go. So this cross pad right here is the most frustrating part, in that when you press it, you don't know which way it's going to go. It could go up or down, right? With this guy, you see how these are 4 separate buttons? That's the key. It's a huge improvement over this. And that's the one thing that I really, really cared about, is that I know which thing I'm changing in the dark. It's so frustrating to hit the set button and not know what thing you're going to change. To watch a video about that, you can go look at the blog post. We made a nice video there. They separated the on-off button and the start-stop button over here. This is start, stop, and on off. So if I wanted to turn it off, I would press and hold this to turn it off. This one I press and hold to just turn it off, right? But if I wanted to start something, I would have to first turn this on, and then this guy
starts hold it
up
down for several seconds to make it work.
And this one actually has like a brighter backlight, which I don't know if I agree is a good thing or not, because but they both last for, pet peeve, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, look at that. Aion actually lasts a little bit longer. Woohoo!
Yeah. Still, so, it would be nice if it lasted longer still, or you could turn it on and off at will, right?
Right. Yeah. So the other thing that's notably missing is up top here, there's no cable. However,
the piece that breaks.
The piece that breaks. You can plug in the same cable that the receiver has directly. If you want to use this like a wired one, you can. But when you put it away, there's nothing plugged in here, so there's less chance that you're going to break that connection because it's rarely used. And I think that makes sense. Yeah. I just, oh yeah. And the most important thing that I really love pointing out, now that we're in Milky Way season, I'm gonna just turn this a little bit. See that? That's 1/10 of a second, right?
Right
This
on.
only goes full seconds over here. So if I wanted to do an NPF setting, let's say I had 9.7 seconds was my NPF exposure length for star points, and I was going for accurate because I wanted to make a print, then I could do this. And I could say, wow, I can go 9.7 seconds. And let's show this instead of just talk about it. So I'm on delay here. I was working on, oh, I'm on delay. I was testing something else out. There we go. So now 7. You guys know where I'm going, right? Count it up. 9.7 seconds. Boom. And if I hit start, it's going to do 9.7 seconds. Oh, I also have a 1 minute delay on that. Fantastic. Right. But I was trying to prove something to somebody else. We had a question if you could set the delay to less than a second, which has been a pet peeve of some other people, to have better star trails, right? If I try to set it to 0.6 seconds, that's not the delay. The interval in between, sorry. My gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you guys could see it, I'm operating this sideways, which is counterintuitive. It's just kind of funny that I tried to do that. Okay, so at 7/10 of a second, I try and set the interval less than a second. No, it jumps back to a second. So if anybody has questions about that, no, we can't break the 1 second barrier. It's like the 4 minute mile. Someday we'll get there. Someday.
Yeah, when we get to shoot at ISO 27 million.
Then we won't need intervalometers.
That's right.
AI will process everything too. Yeah. So there's also this where like the half press on this. This also does a half press, which I know works, but it's wired, right? But now I'm starting to, now that I feel like a wireless intervalometer is something that could fit into my workflow. I just want to look at you guys for a second. There's the camera position, right? And then there's like, if I had an autofocus lens on here, I could hold this and half press for it to autofocus on me and then walk back to the camera and flip the switch and set it to manual. And then I'd have perfect focus. That's one beautiful thing about the half press on this is it causes focus on that. It's like half pressing the trigger on your camera. That I find pretty exciting. And the other thing is, and I've always really admired Chris's choice of, I guess we can, Lance, if you want to show your screen again, Chris's choice of having a dedicated trigger. He uses the one with the 10 pin Nikon. It just screws in. That's also a Vello. And it's just a simple button, right? But he could walk out and do his light painting anywhere. Because he has this simple transmitter. It's like the size of like my chapstick, you know, like it's just boop, boop, like that. With this, with a wireless, and I know that this is not new, but I'm finally catching on to it because I'm not against the software that's on this. I could walk out and trigger over and over to do my light painting from a place that might be harder to get to that requires a flashlight to get to. So I see a safety advantage to having a wireless trigger now. And seeing the time count down on this also lets me know when it's safe to turn my light back on.
Yeah. So have you noticed a range with the connection between the transmitter and the receiver on that one?
I have not noticed a range because generally I don't go far enough for that ever to be an ish.
Right. Because you know, it's definitely an ish with most of them. And you know, we've all done some troubleshooting at workshops and, you know, people expecting to have done lots of exposures or long exposures, and they've got the transmitter in their pocket and walk out of range and the camera shuts off.
I recommend only using it as a wireless trigger when you're doing portraits of yourself or doing remote light painting. In all other cases, it comes with a lanyard for a reason. Hang it off of your tripod, and walk away.
Oh, it's not to hang on your wrist or your belt loop?
It is, but the sad thing about these is it's sending a constant signal to the receiver. So if you start an exposure sequence and you walk out of range, as soon as that stops hearing a signal, as soon as the receiver stops hearing a signal, the exposure stops.
Right. And you don't know it until, 2 hours later when you come back to your camera and, it lasts, because, you set up your shot, you do all the work to get it good, you push the button, and then you walk away to chat with your friends or look for your next shot or what have you, and not realizing that, somewhere between 20 and 50 feet is the limit of this thing, and boom.
Yep.
And like you said, continuously transmitting a signal means that the batteries in the remote piece in your pocket are going to wear out a lot faster than the batteries on the receiver on the camera. So It takes 2 sets of batteries to.
I should add that as a comment to the blog post. These intervalometers are kind of misers when it comes to battery usage. I've had batteries last for 1.5 years before with an intervalometer. But I would imagine that this does take it out of it a lot faster. You make a good point there.
Yeah. Well, you and I have different opinions about intervalometers, and you're on a crusade for the perfect intervalometer, and I'm on a crusade for the camera manufacturers to perfect the one that's built into the camera, so you don't need this extra piece of gear.
You've chosen Nikon. Let's hold our breath and see who passes out first.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, our chances are equal, and I'm not punching at anybody here. I'm just saying that they've got bigger fish to fry, and I understand. And I'm grateful for every other advantage we have. It's not a big deal, except when it doesn't work.
All right. Well, look, it only took it only took roughly 20 years for them to extend the shutter speeds beyond 30 seconds. So,
I mean, we might all be shooting pictures with our eyes by that point, so
yeah. Hey, we got a question though, about the transmitter receiver.
Right.
Sue's asking, does it have to be line of sight to work?
No, Sue, it doesn't. And that's a good question. It has to be just within listening distance. This is radio. That's infrared that you're thinking about. Infrared is invisible spectrum. It's light, right? There used to be, the first triggers were infrared, and they required line of sight. But now we don't need that. I know a little bit about radio. I did a lot of work with Pocket Wizard for years. So radio signals with clear, let's say you're thinking about a walkie-talkie, top of the mountain down to the valley. That's the longest range it has, right? But when you're flat, it's different. You have to think about things around it that could accept or cause interference to radio waves. And that could be metal or ferrous ores. Like if you're around iron-rich rocks, water also likes to eat up radio waves. And trees, if you're in a building, there's a lot of wires inside of buildings too. So you could do this through a wall and it would totally work. You could go inside of a house that you're light painting, and it's possible it could work if that was within 100 feet. But if there's a lot of metal around, your capabilities will go down. If it's raining, it's possible that it's going to go way down. So your results will vary, but it doesn't need to be line of sight.
So maybe the right answer is what you suggested before, and use the lanyard to hook it on your tripod.
Yeah. I got a nice comment that my t-shirt game is fierce tonight. Thanks, Gabe. Just wanted to experience your dark after park. It's one of those, oh my gosh, I forgot they're wild something guys, but I got this when I was in Badlands. I'm praying that August is going to turn out okay. Aren't you, Lance?
I certainly am. I want to have at least one workshop this year.
Yeah. Well, knock on wood. Let's have the right number, and may it be many. When we publish this blog post, I want to note one thing. When we published this blog post, when I wrote it, the Phottix Aion was in stock at B&H. And when we published it, it was out of stock. It could have been a number of things, but we reached out to the people, and it seems like there's some on the way. So if some of you are watching this saying I didn't order it because it'll be in stock at B&H shortly, or if there's another retailer that you prefer, look for it there. But we love us some B&H. And if you guys click on our link, which I'll put in the blog post here, it's in the blog post. I'll put it in the description of the YouTube here. A little bit of that scratch makes its way back to us, and we thank you very much.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Jerry Stokowski asks, has anybody tried a Pocket Wizard 3? Jerry, I should show you my Pocket Wizard collection. Yeah, Pocket Wizards generally have the greatest range because their radio technology was superior. I told you I was a geek about this. I know a lot about Pocket Wizards. So yes, but you would need to have, if you're using it for simple triggering, no big deal. Yeah, if you just wanted to do that, you could press and hold and it would act like bulb. True. They had a product which is discontinued for a while now called the Multimax that had a lot of advanced triggering capabilities in it, very much like intervalometers, modern intervalometers. Actually, intervalometers aren't modern. They've been around for a long time. And it's even funnier because Pocket Wizard's headquarters is right around the corner from where Lance lives. So he could go knock on their door. Nice Vermont company. Yeah, the range is generally about 600 feet, if I remember correctly. So if you want extreme range, you can do that. And they also have what's called relay mode. You can set up a Pocket Wizard to listen and receive a signal from one and relay it to the next one. So you could daisy chain those wirelessly ad infinitum. So you could be miles away and do that if that's something you really wanted to do. Yeah. Wow. I haven't thought about doing that in a while. There used to be some really crazy stuff going down in the photo industry. So
I was never aware. I wasn't aware that you could use them to trigger a camera. I always thought of them as just a strobe, for firing a strobe.
Yeah, you could, the relay mode also worked with a camera. You could have it listen and trigger a camera and then out through the hot shoe, trigger another Pocket Wizard, or some of the modern ones have auto switching. So it could listen and trigger the camera, come back up through the hot shoe and use the radio to trigger all of the other listening radio triggers out there. Well, this is a tangent I didn't think I'd be going down tonight either. But yeah, there's, you could create some crazy strategies with that. Wow. I didn't even get to show the blog post. Should I show them like pictures and stuff?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I think we covered it. We showed the stuff and the things. So, all right.
Well,
so this is called BlogChat, so we might as well, right? All right. So
got to show off your awesome pictures anyway.
I was having fun with colors. So yeah, I was playing with tube lights and mixing colors. That was fun. Oh yeah, actually, this is 3 lights. Okay, I'm going to brag about this for a second. This was a tube light over here and a tube light over there. I was going for that teal and orange look. And then I used a coast in my hand and created that square shape with the end of my hand.
Yeah,
and light painted this. So there's 3 lights going on here. So this is night photography, folks. This is not product photography. Long exposure and light painted. Oh yeah, the status indicator. We didn't talk about that. The flashing light that's on these intervalometers is the bane of our existence. It's funny, we had a great comment from Jeff McCrum that's on this post here that he usually opens them up and disables both the annoying noise that happens and he disables the red LED too. So Jeff, you're a genius.
Those of us less nerdily inclined just put a piece of gaffer's tape over the light.
Right. It's so true. Okay, here's one thing I didn't mention. The Phottix Aion comes with 5 cables. So Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Out of the box, this one thing that costs as much as a standard wireless radio trigger that's dedicated to one brand can cover 3 brands in one box, and that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I think that you can get any other, that 2.5 millimeter connection that you see at the other end of this. I think you can get any cord
Right.
that fits your camera,
an adapter for that, right?
and plug it into the Aion, and it'll totally work. So I think Ed was just asking, does Aion have any plans to expand? I don't have contact with them. I don't know. I can ask, I can find out, but I'm guessing that you can take one of these standard connection cables, like a replacement cable for any wireless intervalometer, plug it in, it'll work. That's my guess. And I have a lot of experience with these things.
Because the plug into the transmitter is just like a standard headphone jack thing, right?
Yeah, it's a 2.5 millimeter, which this doesn't focus that closely, but yeah, it's a standard, not 3.5 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter. So yeah, I guess I could show that. So yeah, this is one of the cables that comes with it. And I'm a tiny little thing in the corner. I shouldn't talk right now. Cross pad buttons are there. We took this picture out in Death Valley. I was holding it in my hands right down there. That was fun because when I do these group shots, I usually set the intervalometer like 7 pictures, and then I run back and I'm like, okay, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. And I take 7 pictures because nobody's ever smiling for the first one, and they're always laughing at the last one. So I aim for the ones in the beginning or in the middle. So, and
you still have to clone heads no matter what.
Yeah. This one I didn't, guys, because it's the daytime photography. In this one, I was reaching for that plastic bag, and I'm holding the trigger in my left hand. That was fun. And then light painting, just going far away. I walked down and I triggered it and did the light painting on the way back for a second run. What else? The countdown shows the quantity of exposures remaining. That's awesome. That's the opposite of the Vello, which counts up instead of down. And we talked about this. We talked about selfies, half press. We talked about that. And yeah, I have to warn you, you're going to have to buy your own AAA batteries when you buy this. However, I'm just going to note that most of the time when you get something that comes with 3 batteries, they've been sitting on the shelf for God knows how long. They're probably not that great anyway. Yeah, the mode button, the back button. Yeah. And if you guys wanted to give the video here a watch, I go into even more detail and close up with a nice, I use the Irix 150 macro lens to shoot the video. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. So yeah. And then we have this wonderful plea in here that if anybody is watching this now or in the future, and they're like, hey, wait a second, we believe in you guys. You have a plan. Hit us up. We're ready to talk about the perfect intervalometer. Let's bring it to market, baby. Let's do this.
Have a plan. Yeah.
We do. I've got sketches from 4 years. 4 years of sketches for a product.
And it's USB rechargeable, right?
I'm going to add that to the list. I mean, yeah. It'll charge your phone too. It'll slice. It'll dice. It's got an RFID inhibitor in it.
So yeah. Is it Ronco branded or KTEL?
Oh, Ronco. Ronco. Yeah. Rompopel, right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't see any other questions. I mean, I feel like intervalometered out. It's not like it's totally over, but wow. I get on this horse and I ride. I hope I didn't I gave you room to talk, Lance, didn't I?
You did.
Okay.
But hey, so nobody came back to us with the interferometer. But
Gabe, let us know. Let us know. Did anybody have a good reply to interferometer?
Well, it is a scientific instrument for making measurements of little teeny tiny distances with multiple beams of light. So there it is.
Wow. I think I remember seeing something about that in Edmund Scientific, which I used to look at like the Sears catalog.
There you go.
But
So,
I was actually going to guess that it was a miracle instrument that learned how to measure how many times somebody was likely to interfere in what you're doing.
you mean like me interrupting you when you're talking about intervalometers?
Absolutely not. No, Lance.
Okay. Well then. All right. Yeah, so Eunice says we should build it and just do GoFundMe or
Well, there are opportunities. I'll put that out there. There are opportunities. And Eunice, thank you so much for suggesting that. It's bringing a product to market is a miracle. I know about some of these things, and it takes a lot of wanting to do it to get it to market, and then you have all of the other details such as who's going to stock it, who's going to pay for it, who's going to ship it. There's a lot of details involved in that. And gosh, I am a Kickstarter kind of guy. I love crowdfunding, and I love meeting people who want to be first and want to fund a dream. In fact, I'm an active backer on Kickstarter. I've backed like 30, 40 projects. So I understand those things, but boy, it's really scary to say I'm going to invest a lot of money to bring a product to market. And, our main business is making sure that our customers, you guys, have a great time in precious spaces, making great pictures, right? And I think it would be a great distraction to focus on manufacturing a product at this point.
yeah.
Which is why we're asking for a partner, for somebody who says, I can take care of that part. Tell us what to do. So,
Hey, have you thought about talking to Peak Design?
well,
They're masters of crowdfunding and developing original products.
they might already be working on it, and that would be wonderful because they're damn good at what they do. But otherwise, if they see this video, hey, Peak Design, call us.
That's right. Hey, Stephen Barnes asking about experience with the Irix 150. A little off tangent, but
Oh, yeah.
pretty cool lens, isn't it?
Oh, it's like butter. I love that lens so much. You
You mean it's like having butter smeared on the front element when you take pictures?
No, it is the smoothest. I can go grab it. It's right over here. It's the smoothest focusing macro lens I've ever had the pleasure to use. It's got a long throw on the barrel. It's got this beautiful grip. I mean, I can grab it. And it's got this nice ridge that you know exactly where it. I'll be back in a second. Cover for me, Lance.
All right. Well, yeah, the Irix, most of us have been using the 15 millimeter or occasionally the 11 millimeter ultra wide Irix lenses for a while, but they just last year came out with this Dragonfly 150 millimeter macro lens. And I did a little bit of shooting with it as a landscape lens when Chris and I were on Cape Cod last year. And man, the infinity on that sucker is way far away, but man, it makes for some great star trails. But Matt's had this one in the studio for a few months now.
Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
You're getting a little carried away there, Matt. Yeah.
Okay. So
it is awesome.
It's got the foot because it's a nice piece of glass here. It's got this beautiful, beautiful throw. And you see this right here when you're doing macro to have something to push against. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a raised nub, right? It's not
Yeah.
it's not just a line that actually has a
yeah. Oh, it feels it's one of the best constructed lenses I've held. And I know a lot more about macro now than I used to. I dabbled before, but now I'm deep into it. A 150 is a great focal length, and it's uncommon for macro because it provides greater distance between you and your subject, which allows you to have lighting.
Right. So if you're shooting bugs or jewelry or other small stuff, you want to get your lights in close.
And you might not scare them off. They might not be able to see you that far. And your lens hood can still, you can still use a lens hood at that distance too, which is dope. I love it. And
You done any night shooting with that?
Yeah, I think I have. I just don't think I've shown anybody. I plan on doing some portraits with it. This might become my portrait lens. You might have to come fight me for the lens if you want to borrow it back. Did I say that out loud? I was looking for the adapter. I've been pairing it up lately with my macro bellows. So yeah.
So does that lens go 1-to-1 without the bellows?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely goes to 1-to-1, but then it stops at 1-to-1. So, which is great. I mean, if you want to do it, let's get it to, there we go. 1-to-1. Yep. And it's just fantastic. But when you want to, I put my FTZ adapter on there, but you know, when you want to get beyond that, ta-da. Yeah.
6-to-1 or something, right?
6 or 8-to-1. Yeah. Yeah. Macro is kind of fun. And that lens, I think for architectural details, let's say you wanted to get a hoodoo in view, or just like a little piece of landscape and have star trails zoom by very quickly.
Right. But it's not for anything, you know, with a nearby foreground though. I found that the infinity is probably close to 100 yards away, which is kind of surprising for a 150. You know, it seems like it should be a little bit closer than it is.
Yeah,
but maybe it's just that you know I shoot with wide so much that I get, you know, forget what it's like to use a longer focal length. But yeah, it does make some beautiful long star trails if your horizon line is at the infinity point.
Yeah, it's superb.
Another cool thing about shooting with a longer lens like that is, you know, we do oftentimes, you know, the Polaris circular star trails, but if you want to get straight star trails, you can't really do that shooting with a 24 or 14 millimeter lens. They're always going to be curved. But if you're shooting with a telephoto anywhere from, you know, 50 millimeters due east or due west will give you good straight lines. But something like that, where you're shooting with a 150, you get those long, really long, all the way through the frame straight lines without any curvature whatsoever. And then they become a pretty interesting compositional element to your image too.
Oh, genius. That's why I usually roll with the 70-200. Now I got to decide whether to bring, you know, both or just this. You know, there is this popular movement of doing focus stacking in the foreground during dusk.
Yeah.
And then leaving your camera in play and then doing something with the star trails in the back. This would not be ideal for that unless you're doing some extreme masking. There are some people that combine different focal lengths to do that, and there's different fields of thought in that. I'm neither for nor against it, but I'm an observer. So, no. Wow. So Suzanne said, like learning about intervalometers, but I look forward to a future life without any.
Me too, Suzanne. Me too. And, you know, to be honest, my life has been mostly intervalometer free since I've had the 750. I'm definitely in Matt's camp in that I don't want to be messing around with my phone and timing exposures on my phone or using an app on my phone. But with the T setting, the time button on the 750, you know, push the button once, go wander around for a little while. That seems long enough. Come back and turn it off. But the randomly timed exposures, you know, they usually work out pretty well if you're talking hundreds of seconds.
Yeah.
But the difference between 870 seconds and 910 seconds exposure wise, you know, it's a tenth of a stop or, you know, some really ridiculously small amount. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But it, you know, for more critical work, it is an issue. So yeah, like Suzanne and Jeff, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that 780 and not having to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, like, does the 780 do tenths of a stop?
No, but I never care to get that precise myself.
You're not going to do star point stacking? No starry landscape stacker for you?
Well, I'll do 10 seconds instead of 9.7, and that'll be good enough.
And that's what it comes down to, folks. Like, when does good enough become not good enough? That's the dividing line. When you decide that that happened, it's time for a change. Otherwise, it's good enough. What you have is good enough. For me, it's not good enough. I got the Phottix Aion. Case closed. That was a mic drop, by the way. I don't want to drop my real mic.
I guess we're done then.
No. Let's see. Steven said about the Irix 150. Oh, we did that. Jerry wants to know, can we program a custom microprocessor? You know, there are...
I think Jerry wants to do it for us.
Let's talk, Jerry. I mean, there are some wickedly talented computer and programming and building savvy attendees in our workshops. I think a little brain trust could be set up, possibly. You know, I would love to see somebody do this with a Raspberry Pi. This is perfect for it. You know, all of these cables are off the shelf now. You could source them. You could use the ones you have. It's really not that hard to make a controller and stuff. So I don't want to do it.
Hey, you know, the one thing that didn't come up in this conversation, this is opening a new can of worms here, but you know, we didn't talk about Magic Lantern. And
please, yeah.
Magic Lantern is a open source firmware that can be added to Canon cameras on a memory card, and it's been around for a long time. And it was developed primarily for time-lapse, but it has an intervalometer feature that can be used for long exposure, single long exposures, or for stacking. And it's pretty interesting. There's a long history going back with that. When it first came out, people were saying, I'm not going to put that on my camera because it's going to void the warranty. And interestingly, Canon came out and said, no, that's fine. If you want to use it, no big deal. It actually doesn't install on the camera itself, but it lives on the memory card that you're shooting on. So it just takes up a little bit of space on the memory card. And you can switch back and forth between the Magic Lantern software or firmware and the Canon firmware while that card's in there. It's quite full featured. I've been shooting Nikon for a while, so I haven't kept up with developments on it, but it's a pretty neat thing. And it's interesting that nobody ever came up with something like that for Nikon or any other camera brand, as far as I know.
I'm pulling it up right now. I remember Magic Lantern was the first company to allow you to control your video capture on the Canon to do like HD and RAW and other stuff like that. They unlocked things that Canon had locked down, and that was their first purpose, but they added on all these other things. It was pretty cool. But I was just doing some Googling while you're talking. It sounds like there are some people that are working on the problem. This is NikonHacker.com. They have something that they're working on, something that's Magic Hacker like. So
interesting.
I think we could do some Googling and see about that. That would be fun to play with, right? I love it.
Yeah, indeed. Huh.
I'm glad you brought that up. I had forgotten all about Magic Lantern.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure. I think maybe Jeff and I were talking about it not too long ago. Yeah, it's
that Jeff guy. We love him.
We do. He knows his stuff.
He does. Good friend. Wow. Oh, we'd like to hear more from you guys in the live chat. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know if you have or have tried the Phottix Aion. I'm the only one at MPAN so far that has tried it out, and I believe in it so much that I wrote that blog post. It was fundamentally so much better than what I've been using, that I thought it was important for you guys to know about it. And that's the reason we wrote the blog post. I will add again, if you click on the links from the blog post, we make a little affiliate money, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you are watching this afterwards, please leave comments down below. If you have questions for us, we respond to all of them. If you want to look at our blog, it's npan.co/blog. Or you can go to nationalparksatnight.com and browse all the other things that we have. Right now, currently, we're running Lightroom Live workshops where you can do 4 workshops with us, 4 different nights. You just did one, Lance. Why don't you explain how it went for you?
So it's 4 2-hour sessions. It's a pretty comprehensive introduction to Lightroom, beginning with 2 hours of video that Tim Cooper put together about setting up or cleaning up an existing catalog mess that you may have. So a lot of people come to us, even today with a big mess in Lightroom because they just transferred an existing mess into their catalog and they need help cleaning it up. So this class, it focuses on 2 sessions on the library module, 2 sessions on the develop module. So we get a total of 8 hours of class time, 2 hours of video. And then once it's all over, you get 1 hour of one-on-one time with one of the 2 instructors, which you get to choose. And you can talk about anything that you want, work on, whether it is cleaning up a mess in your catalog or, using particular tools in the develop module or even looking at other modules that aren't covered in the class. And we have 2 sessions coming up. Matt, you and I are doing one in early June. And
Yes.
then Chris and Gabe will be doing one later on after that. And
Awesome.
I think I'm allowed to say that we're also working on, Tim's working on an online Photoshop class too.
Yes.
And the cool thing about these is, you can take a lot of different online courses on whatever you want. These are specific to night photography. We're teaching Lightroom that you can use to, for any type of photography, but the develop module in particular is specific to techniques that we use in developing nighttime images. And the Photoshop course will be the same way.
Awesome. I am really looking forward to teaching with you, Lance.
Yep, it'll be fun.
Just like the workshops, man.
I'm looking forward to going back out to a national park and shooting with you, man.
Me too.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Bad Lance, bad Lance, bad Lance. Oh, we also have tomorrow. We have somebody who hasn't joined us live yet. Gabe on our Instagram, which is instagram.com/nationalparksatnight, or at National Parks at Night. We have Susan Magnano joining us to talk about lots of wonderful stuff. And I don't want to ruin the surprise for you guys, but it's going to be a good talk. She's been quarantining in interesting places. So you should tune in for that. It's going to be a good one.
She's awesome and just has more energy per ounce than anyone else I know, man.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. And a charming and warming smile. So,
that's right.
Yeah, she's a good person. Can't wait to hear what she's been up to. I'm really curious myself.
Yep. And we're still doing the image reviews on Thursday night. For now, hopefully we're going to get back into real world workshops, and we might have to slow down a little bit at some point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for now, and it's was it
Tim and I?
You and Tim on Thursday?
Yep. The Tim and I, yes.
I'm going to have to let Sandra know because she was asking who's doing it this week.
Okay. All Sandra, right. If you're watching.
I haven't seen her name in the comments, but
unfortunately it's me, but Tim's going to be there too.
I think she was just checking to see that I wasn't going to be doing it.
Oh, I mean,
because the image reviews last like 4.5 hours when I do it, right?
But you give such thoughtful and detailed,
extended
remarks on.
Whoa, earthquake here.
They're so good. It shakes the earth. Yes. Okay. Wow. Lance, it's always a joy, man.
Indeed. You brighten my day, sir.
Right back at you. Right back at you. I knew this was going to be interesting, but I had no idea I was going to have this much fun talking about intervalometers with you, man.
Yeah. Well, you get a gear guy and a not gear guy together and talk about gear, and there's bound to be something going on.
true. It's true. Well, we've got some wonderful comments in the live chat. Thank you all so much. It's been a really lively chat tonight. You guys are fantastic. We appreciate you all. Seeing you here every week means the world to us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for spending your quarantine with us. And
Quarantine.
yeah.
I hadn't heard that yet. I got to get out. I mean, wait, what am I saying?
Yeah, we all have to get out, right?
Next. Okay.
Let's go have a quarantini right now.
Yes. Quarantinis for all.
I'm going to go have dinner myself.
Oh my God. Suzanne just called us the car talk of night photography.
Oh, jeez. But who's clicking? Who's clack?
Wow. Talk about New England Public Radio.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
boy. All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. We miss you. We love you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gabe, for hanging out in the comment room.